in Salem, we were camping next to somebody who they just sold their house and they were building a new house, and we'd already told them that we were from Texas, and they were like, oh yeah, we're building a house in Dallas, and we're like, oh cool, like our neck of the woods, we know exactly where that is, and they're like, no, like 20 minutes away, Dallas, Oregon. Oh, all right. Welcome to the Wandering RV Show, your bi-weekly source for our stories,
our screw-ups,
and our successes living the full-time RV life. I'm your host, Kara, the Wandering RV Babe, and this is my driver, Ryan.
Hola, amigos. That might be culturally insensitive. Hi, people. Sorry.
Listen, we're from Texas. Like, this is our jam.
But first, where are we today, sweetheart?
We are in, where are we? We're in the okay state.
The most okay state in the union.
Yes, it's the okay state. It's not good. It's not great.
But it's not bad.
It's not bad.
No.
Is it fine?
Nah, it's just okay.
It's okay. It's the okay state. But that's where we're at right now.
We're in Guthrie, Oklahoma. Which, by the way, there's nothing in Guthrie, Oklahoma.
Which has kind of been nice. I mean, here's the thing. You get into RV life to just kind of like chill and take a step back and just be able to relax. And then sometimes you get caught up in like the FOMO of going places and doing things and seeing all kinds of shit, which is awesome. But at the same time, you kind of lose that just kind of sit and relax feel too. And Guthrie has been an amazing place for us to just kind of sit and relax. The campground that we're at is gorgeous. They have nice big sites, and they're like all grass sites, which sometimes is kind of hard to come by in this day and age. So it's been really, really nice being here in Guthrie, and we leave tomorrow. So there we go.
But you know what else is here?
What else is here?
An RV park with amazing internet.
Oh my god. Yeah, this is some of the best internet we've had in months. And when I say like good internet, what I mean is like amazing download speeds and amazing upload speeds across all of our internet sources. So like Starlink is bonkers here, T-Mobile is great here, Verizon is great here. I didn't check AT&T. Is AT&T good here?
I checked it. I don't remember what it was. I think it was good.
It was good. Yeah, like we never come across a place where like everything works at the same time, and it works like super awesome. So that's been great.
The most okay state with the best internet.
The most okay state with the best internet.
T-Mobile, when we did the test, when we first got here, I'm not kidding when I say that the T-Mobile Home Gateway was better than the internet was at our old house.
Oh, it was.
We're getting a gigabit down, and like, I want to say like 60 to 100 up.
Yeah.
It's megabit up, not gigabit. 60 to 100 megabit up. And at our old home, I think I had like 500 down and like maybe 40 up. So like, it's legit here.
Yeah, we first got the results. So we check it whenever we get in, because like one, we need it for what we do for our jobs, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But also, like, it's a good idea for us to just kind of check it on a regular basis. And when we first checked it, when we first got in, I was like, this has to be a mistake. We got to recheck it again. And sure enough, it came back with the same result. And the internet has been amazing the entire time.
So for right now, I want to jump into...
What are we talking about today?
Our main story is last minute campgrounds.
Last minute camp. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is very timely. Timely.
So
We're also talking about the 2 years worth of just stories and screw ups and successes that we've had doing this full-time RV life. There's some doozies in there, guys. So just bear with us, because it's going to be a fun ride. And then we have a fun pick of the week as well. So
why do we keep getting in this situation where we're coming up on holidays and we have to make last minute reservations?
So what happened was, here's the thing. Labor Day is the biggest camping holiday of the year. As full-time RVers, we're constantly on the go. We're constantly making reservations, sometimes really far in advance, sometimes not so far in advance. And for some reason, we can't get it through our thick head that, like, Labor Day is a day that you need to, like, really schedule out campground reservations pretty far in advance. The biggest camping holiday of the year. We have not done that the last 2 years.
Nope.
And last year was actually kind of fun. It was like a fun accident. We totally forgot to plan out our reservations for the year. That was super fun. So we ended up at a campground in the middle of Iowa at a casino.
Yeah, we were on our way back. I don't know when I made the plan, but so we were meeting some friends up in Wisconsin, and I knew we were going to be coming back heading back down to Texas after that.
Yeah.
And so we were literally just coming straight down 35. And I started like planning everything out and lining everything up, and then I realized as we're leaving Wisconsin, we were coming up on Labor Day, and I hadn't gotten a campground yet.
And they were sold out.
Everywhere was sold out. So I like did my usual thing where I kind of like time out the trip. Where do I want to be? Okay, and then it's kind of spiral out from there. Find like different campgrounds. So the best I was looking at Des Moines apparently. So that was where I was going to stop. And I just start spiraling out. Nothing in Des Moines available. Get farther and farther. And finally I'm like, oh hey, there's a casino here. Completely available.
Oh, totally available.
Like
they still had spots all the way through the weekend.
Yeah. So we ended up stopping at this casino and hanging out for the whole week. It was actually a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. It was. They had full hookups, which was amazing. Their prices were super, super reasonable. Did you spill on your beard? Yeah, he did. He spilled on his beard. Their prices were super, super reasonable. And, we broke even playing a card game.
Yeah.
We broke even playing Mississippi Stud.
Yeah.
At the casino, which was super fun. The other nice thing was that it had a hotel, which they pretty much all do because they want you to like stay there and continue to gamble like all through the day and night. But they had like a hot tub and a pool at the hotel, and because we were camping on the same grounds of the hotel, we got full access to the pool and the hot tub and like all of the hotel amenities. I think they even had like a continental buffet breakfast or something like that, which we did not get up in time for at all. But I mean, that would have been free too had we decided to get our butt out of bed. So it was actually a really cool thing. And then we realized afterwards, we kind of did a little research afterwards, and come to find out lots of casinos actually have that availability. So if for some reason you're ever in a pinch, you can't find a place to stay and you need full hookups or you would like full hookups, try a casino.
Yeah,
they might actually have something.
There's a lot of them out there that have it, and they don't stay super busy, so there's a lot of availability. They don't maintain the grounds super well necessarily. Some of them do, but this one they definitely didn't.
This one didn't. It had some cracks in the concrete and places like that. It wasn't super level, which is fine. Like we had leveling blocks and everything.
But to get through Labor Day weekend and a week, it's really not that bad.
Yeah.
But so on top of that, earlier this year, July the 4th, we were planning to meet family for July the 4th, and I kind of built out our plan. We had to change some plans and things like that, and we're leading up to July 4th, and I'm like, oh, I don't have anywhere for us to stay the week before July 4th. So we ended
up...
So luckily I found a campground that was just down the road from the one we were going to stay at to see family.
It was so cool, too.
And it was a great campground. But we basically got to the same city. We were like 5 miles down the road, and we stayed there for a week, and then we moved campgrounds, and so we had to like do that midday, try and get them to let us in early and go through that whole rigmarole. But it was really funny. It was a great experience. I think Memorial Day ended up being easy this year. Memorial Day last year, I think I messed up. Labor Day last year, I messed up. July 4th last year went smoothly. This Labor Day, we ended up changing plans. Instead of going down through California, we're heading back to Florida, and so we didn't have any plans. And so this weekend, for Labor Day weekend, we're just traveling every single day to get ourselves down to Florida. So that's how we're spending our Labor Day weekend. We're not hanging out, we're not cooking out, we're not enjoying the beautiful weather.
It's just going to be exhausting travel.
It's just another few days of travel.
Yeah.
So
we have this rule. We're not the ones who came up with this rule, by the way, but it's a good like rule of thumb to go by, especially if you travel constantly on the road. And it's the 3-3-3 rule, which is don't travel more than 3 days in a row. Don't travel more than 300 miles a day, and don't plan to arrive by 3 p.m. And that's really just to ensure that you're arriving during the daylight, when office hours are open, when you, like, if you're having to pull into a back end site or something, you're not having to do that in the middle of the dark.
That
kind of
during
thing.
the summer, I've pushed our arrival time back to 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
because it's
daylight
just
savings.
well, no, it's because it's so dang hot outside, and
Yeah.
so like it's nice to get to the campsite and let the sun go down a little bit while the camper's cooling off after it's been warming up in the heat all day while driving down the road. So I've actually like pushed our arrival times back to like I'm trying to get in like just before the office closes, essentially.
Yeah, but I say that because we've kind of broken our rule the last several weeks, where we've done longer days. We've certainly done more than 300 miles a day. We've certainly arrived later. We've done more than 3 days in a row. And guys, it is exhausting to do that. That's where you get like that travel burnout, where you just don't want to travel anymore. So we're going to arrive in Florida in a few days. We're planning on being there for a couple of months. And part of that is, one, so that I can, let my foot heal while we're just chilling on the beach, which is, why not? But part of it too is that we're kind of exhausted and we kind of are done traveling right now. So I will say the 333 rule, it's a good rule of thumb to follow because it helps you prevent that travel burnout.
Absolutely. Well, on to our main topic.
Yeah.
This is our 2-year anniversary of full-time RVing.
What?
We've got a bunch of new followers. We wanted to go through, like, kind of just take the opportunity to share some of our memorable highlights and stories, our successes, our screw-ups, and
mostly our screw-ups.
pretty much most of our screw-ups.
So if somebody asked earlier this week, they were like, "Hey, we want to I'm getting into RV life. Like, what are some of the screw-ups that you did, or what are some of the mistakes that we should avoid?" We're gonna tell them right now.
Well, starting off with, we got to go with our biggest story for me was, this was our first trip out of Texas with our RV, and we just left Texas. We drove through Houston. We were on I-10 heading to Florida, and we're driving through, and we come around this kind of corner. There's like a bunch of trees off to the left. There was an exit that said, last exit before the bridge. I didn't really think anything of it. And we come around this corner, and right in front of me...
It just clicked. I know what you're going to say.
...is like this massively tall bridge that I'm not even kidding. I sat there and I looked at it at first, and I was like, wait. Is that thing even legal?
There's nowhere to turn around. There's no, all you have to do, the only thing that you can do is just keep going. This bridge was terrible. I don't even remember the name of it, but I know that it is in Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Yeah, it has a name.
It does have a name.
I looked it up afterwards, and it is one of the worst rated bridges for stability. Like, there are literally businesses in the area that do not allow their employees to drive company vehicles over this bridge. The past 2 presidents, both Biden and Trump, that they can agree on anything, have said that this bridge needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
And, have proposed that as a bill to get this bridge replaced. Like, this thing is in worse shape than some of the bridges that have already fallen.
Yeah. And you can tell. So as we're going up this bridge that is, super steep and super narrow, there is
no shoulders.
There's no shoulder. There's literally nowhere for, an individual person to even go up there and do maintenance on it, really, without closing the whole bridge down, which it's over I-10, so that's kind of not feasible. At least not for any extended period of time. And as we were going up, it's swaying, which some bridges do that, they're designed to do that, but it was swaying, and the bolts are very clearly rusted. So we're going up this bridge with our 40-foot-long fifth wheel, and we're like, are we gonna survive? We literally just got out of Texas. It's our first out-of-state trip, and we have this whole year-long trip planned. And the very first thing that we get to when we get out of Texas is it's maybe 30 minutes past the border on I-10 in Louisiana in Lake Charles is this crazy scary bridge.
So we've since learned afterwards that there was that last exit that I was talking about, there's
210.
I-210 goes around. It's a longer bridge, but it's nowhere near as steep, and it's much newer and better built.
Yeah.
But I did the research afterwards, and I mean, the number of people, like Pete right now in the comments is saying, yeah, I've had to drive that bridge. Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just scary. Okay.
I think there was another one in 2022 that was pretty memorable, at least last year, that was pretty memorable when it came to driving.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that was when you had to drive your truck. Now, the trailer was not in tow, so thankfully that was not the case. But he did have to drive his 1-ton truck in the middle of New York City. Like, literally in the middle of Manhattan. That was not the intent at all, but we had a family emergency happen, and so you got to drive in the middle of New York.
Yeah, I mean, we planned on driving. Like, we were going in. We were gonna drop my truck off at my sister's apartment, and then we were gonna go do some stuff.
Which was in Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's not bad. It's not bad to drive in. It's really not bad to park in.
No, it really wasn't.
Manhattan, it's terrible.
And so it ended up my mother broke her arm, and I had my truck right there. We literally, it was like as we were getting out of the truck.
Yeah.
And rather than calling 911 and an ambulance, we were like, okay, well, we're just gonna take the truck down to the closest hospital. So we actually went to an urgent care first, and they were like, no, you need to go to the hospital. Don't go to this one. Go to this one. And so I pull it up on my maps. I plug the address in on my maps, and it's like 5 miles away. I'm like, cool. Okay, this won't be long. 45 minutes later, I'm dropping her off at the hospital. Like, oh my gosh. Like, the traffic was horrible. I mean, we're just crawling the whole way. 5 miles on the road takes 45 minutes sometimes just to get anywhere. So I get her dropped off at the hospital. We wait around. I finally find a parking space near the hospital. So they're in there. I come join them. We figure out what's wrong. We figure out it's broken. She's like, okay, well, I mean, it's not really going to affect anything else. So let's continue with our plans. So
yeah, she was a trooper.
And so I was like, okay, well, so I've got my truck here at the hospital. You and my sister are over at her apartment, and so like we're on opposite sides, and we're like, okay, well, our next plans are in Manhattan.
Yeah, so we just converged on Manhattan.
So I drive my truck from South Brooklyn over into Manhattan, drop my parents off, to meet up with you guys, and then I've just spent like the next 30 minutes just
trying to find parking.
Find a parking space or something. Finally, find a parking garage, not tall enough for me whatsoever, but for $40 extra bucks.
Yeah, I was gonna say you slipped the guy a little extra money.
He found a like nice little area he could put me in right at the entrance, so that way he didn't have to drive it all the way in. And oh my gosh, like that was just such an experience. Like honestly, driving around New York, I was honestly expecting worse. I really truly was. But in the end, the thing was everybody's going slow, and as long as you go into it with that mentality, no, it's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah, like you gotta just keep moving. I will say, we got honked at more in Miami than we ever did in like
That's true.
Manhattan or Brooklyn or like the New York City area. Miami, whew, that is some crazy driving. Like if you can survive driving in Miami, you like are a professional driver. You should just get that like sticker on your driver's license that you're a professional driver.
I survived
driving in Miami. But yeah, I think that kind of brings us to 2023. Like the craziest story that I can think of in terms of driving is the first time around that you had to do 4 days in a row of driving. Like I think by the end of this year it's going to be like 3 or 4 different times of having to do that. But the very first time in 2023, bam, blow a tire.
Yeah, luckily it was funny. So you ended up flying back to Texas.
I had jury duty.
Because you had jury duty. And so my dad actually flew out to hang out with me and drive back with me because we were actually going back for a family event. Anyway, so he came out to spend some time with me while we're driving back.
Right.
Which actually ended up being a blessing because in the situation where a tire blew out, you'd be absolutely useless.
I was totally useless.
Whereas he was super, super helpful and was able to like assist me in getting everything done. Like I just had to tell him what the next step was, and he could start working on that while I'm still finishing up the previous one. So I'm taking the tire off
Yeah.
and getting everything loosened up. He's pulling stuff out of the basement so we can get the spare out of the basement. For some stupid reason in our RV, the spare's inside the basement. Someday we're gonna put it get one of those underbelly ones or something so it's easier to get to. But for the moment, it's in our basement, so I had to pull a bunch of stuff out of the basement. Get that spare tire in, we get it switched out, toss the bad one, with his help, we lift it up, get it into the truck bed, so that way it's still, we can get it repaired. Immediately we get back on the road, get on the phone, call Discount Tire, we're getting a new tire, everything like that. So, it was really great having him, because it was boom, 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 okay, we're done.
Exactly.
And it was really, really convenient. Not that you wouldn't have been helpful. You've been very helpful. You've been making the calls. In the end, I was technically the one making the calls. But
I would have been helpful in different ways.
She would have been out there with her cameras recording for social media. Probably.
Oh, I totally would have been. It was funny because as soon as I found out, you blew a tire, everybody's okay, the camper's okay, well-being has been taken care of. I was like, you didn't happen to get any footage or pictures, did you? He was like, no.
That was the last thing on my mind. That was the last thing on my dad's mind. Sorry, we don't. Sorry, we're not like your generation where immediately we think, oh, something's going on. I should pull my phone out. I think something's going on, and my first thought is, okay, what can I do to make to take care of this?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's some of our stories. I think that brings us onto our screw ups. So I'm gonna.
Those are some doozies.
I'm
ready.
I just read the doc and I just saw what you have. So I'm gonna give your screw ups first.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll let you call out my screw ups.
All right. I'm ready.
So
I'm ready.
As with anything, your screw ups always seem to have a name for some reason. So they're the Great Peanut Incident of 2022.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that was a fun one. This was a lesson in making sure that everything is really, really packed down when you go to travel in your RV. So it was probably the second trip that we ever took in our RV, and we were still we were figuring things out. We were figuring out how to pack everything down. We were figuring out how to manage everything for travel day. One thing to note about our particular RV model is we have a rear kitchen. The rear of your RV, especially if it is a towable RV, so a fifth wheel or a travel trailer, is gonna get the brunt of all of the bounciness. You remember when you were kids and you would ride in the back of your parents' minivan or in the back of your grandparents' Cadillac or the back of the school bus and your head would hit the top because you were in the back? Same concept applies. I totally just aged myself there, but you get the point. So our pantry is literally at the way back. It's on the back wall. And I had the brilliant idea that we would put all of our snacks at the very, very top of the pantry. We're kind of short people. I was like, you know what? It's going to make us work for the snacks. So it's a little bit of a give and take there. We got to work for our snacks, but they're going to be right there at the top. And I had this
Wait, that's what?
Yeah, that was the whole concept. That's why our snacks are at the top.
I never knew this.
That's the whole reason.
I've learned something new live. Wow.
That is the whole reason.
You're hiding snacks from us.
Yes, exactly. I'm making us work for our snacks. But I had this airtight container, those OXO containers where it's the pop top container to keep everything airtight. And I had this whole thing of peanuts in there, and they were at the back. There was a bungee cord and everything that was tied up. It was good. Well, it was an especially rough road. It was an especially rough travel day. It was a rough one for our second ever travel day, but it was just rough in general. And so we get to our final destination.
Final destination? This sounds scary.
It was kind of scary.
This is very ominous.
It was very ominous. Yes, it was. Death by peanuts. So we finally arrive at our destination. And all of a sudden, we open up the slides, and I see just peanuts everywhere. So I go up to the pantry, I open the door, and there's peanuts that are falling from the top of the shelves. It was crazy. Apparently, it was bouncy enough that the peanuts bounced enough, they rolled out of their spot. It hit the top of the can, it busted open, and of course, as we're bouncing down the road, there's like dancing peanuts everywhere. So for like the next several months, because we had a slide that was right next to the pantry door, somehow some of the peanuts had like gotten up in the slide, and when the slide was fully extended, you couldn't get to them because of the air gap. But then whenever they came in, they were loose. And so for probably 3 months after that, we would have a travel day. I learned my lesson. I packed everything better. We did not have any more crazy big things of peanuts anywhere. But we would find just these random, like, 2 or 3 peanuts that would fall down for months afterwards. It was crazy. So that is the great peanut incident of 2022.
Okay, well, I gotta let you call out my big screw up for 2022 first.
Well, there is a campground etiquette rule. It is a very important campground etiquette rule. And it is that if somebody is unhitching or hitching up their rig, do not talk to them. Do not go up, don't go say hi to them, don't do anything. I know it sounds really rude and it sounds kind of like counterintuitive, but generally it's because they're really working on something and you want to make sure that you don't like distract them so shit doesn't happen. Well, this was a prime case of our neighbor coming up, who was very, very sweet, by the way, talking to him while he was doing a black tank flush, which is where we fill the black tank with water to flush out all the gross stuff so that he can then dump out all the gross stuff and our black tank stays clean. Black tank is where solids and waste goes from your body. So he got distracted. And I'll let you take it away from there.
So we had moved into our RV. We were still mostly stationary, but we moved into our RV, and we were me and my dad actually had a trip planned. We were going to take his RV to go down to Fredericksburg. And so I was in the process of flushing the tank, and so I could turn everything off before we left. So I was actually kind of going a little ham on it. So I actually flushed 3 times. So I like filled the tank, or
very clean.
Nearly filled the tank, flushed it. Nearly filled the tank, flushed it, and nearly filled the tank. Then got distracted by
Thank goodness you had already flushed it twice before this time.
So our neighbor comes up. He knew that I was heading out of town. He was going to kind of keep an eye on things while we were gone, and he was asking when we were getting back. There was a rainstorm that was about to start, so we were trying to like talk through a couple things real quick. And so I got distracted. Yada yada yada. Got done. Went inside. Grabbed all my stuff. Grabbed the dog. Hopped in the truck. Drove down to my parents' house. And as I'm like 5 miles from my dad's house,
which is at least 30-40 minutes away.
Yeah. I pull up to a stoplight. I get off the highway. I pull up to a stoplight, and I just realized in the back of my head, did I ever turn the water off?
Nope.
No. The answer to that question is no, I did not. I had I just got distracted, thought I was done with everything, left the flush running, so that's basically the water coming into the tank, but I did not have the valve open, because the kind of the process is you fill it up, you close the valve, you fill it up, then you rip it, let her rip, and then like it cleans everything out, everything goes pouring out real quickly. It's really, really good for cleaning your black tank, especially when you're more stationary. Like, your black tank gets a little bit cleaner when you're more mobile, because things slush around while you're driving down the road.
Yeah.
Because we were stationary at the time, like, stuff doesn't get slushed around as well, and so when you dump, it doesn't get as clean as if you do something like this. So anyways, we drive back. It had flooded our bathroom, spilled into
Gross.
into the kind of the underbelly area, had come out into the living room a little bit. So my dad helped me clean it up, get it kind of sopped up. We put some towels out.
He's a trooper.
Yeah, he's a great man. Great man, my father. I've helped him clean a lot of his mistakes too. Okay, let's be honest here.
It's true.
Not normally involving poo, but I do help.
Yeah.
I do help. There wasn't a lot of poo, because this was like the third flush.
It was the third flush, so there
and
really
so
wasn't.
like I've heard stories where like for some people like ends up coming out the top through their vent. Ours, I guess, is not our toilet. Obviously, is not that well sealed. Actually, it's really not, because our toilet. This was before we had the warranty work, so our seal on our toilet actually was not very good at the time. And so rather than going up back through the vent, it actually just came up through the toilet.
Yeah.
And so,
still pretty gross.
I think I would prefer coming out the vent. That would have been, at least then it's just kind of all outside of the RV.
Oh,
Still gross.
that's gross.
But I would rather that than inside. So, long story short, we cleaned it up. We went on our trip. You were out of town at the time.
I was.
You came back from your trip, and you were like, "It actually wasn't that bad." And so you finished cleaning, you disinfected, and got all
Yeah.
that stuff done. And then I came back home, and lesson learned.
Lesson learned. Well, kind of. So, this leads great into your 2023 screw up. What was that, babe? What was your 2023? Your 2022 screw up was forgetting about the black tank flush and it overflowing. What was the 2023 screw up, hun?
So, we get to Tampa. And we pulled into
We're going to unhitch.
we pull into our site. We're getting unhitched. Our neighbors, they don't have an RV. They're in like a mobile home. They're like permanent setup. They've never RV'd in their life. They just live there.
They're just there,
That's
yeah.
Super
Super sweet couple though.
very, very sweet, very friendly. They really wanted to get to know us. They really sweet when I had to take you to the ER.
First time.
The first time.
Yeah.
They saw that we left and they were wondering because I'd already told them that you weren't feeling well. That's because they hadn't even really met you yet.
No, they were super sweet.
And so they were worried about you, and so they were checking up on you and everything. So, anyways, after we get unhitched and I'm getting everything hooked up, I set my water setup. So I have one hose that comes from the faucet, goes into a Y adapter. One side goes to the filter and the pressure reducer and into the main system. The other side goes into the black tank. And so I'm turning the water on. I'm setting the Y adapter appropriately. This back at the time, I didn't really have a system. Like now, black tank's always on the right. Fresh water is always on the left. And so like I forgot. They were talking to me, and so I'm like getting everything switched and set up to turn the water on, and well, I accidentally, when I turned the fresh water on the Y adapter, well, I also turned the black tank flush on the Y adapter.
So you didn't learn your lesson the first time.
So about 50 minutes later, well, it was a different mistake this time. It's the same result, just different
result. Black tank flush. He forgot about the black tank flush.
About 50 minutes later, we all of a sudden hear some weird sounds coming from the bathroom, and lo and behold, the same thing had happened again. It was all coming up through the toilet.
Thankfully, we caught it really quick.
We caught it really quickly. This wasn't that bad of a deal.
Yeah.
It was. I ran out real quickly, turned it off. Like I knew exactly what had happened. I think what might have happened is I turned the black tank on, and I actually had the fresh water off, and neither one of us had gone to wash our hands. Otherwise, we would have noticed, and I would have gone out there and been like, "Oh, oops!" Other direction on both switches. But unfortunately, we didn't, and so we were like sitting on our couch, and
I heard something, and I was like, what is going on? And then I walked into the bathroom because I was going to investigate the sound. Cause I kept hearing this kind of weird water sound, but I didn't know what it was. And then all of a sudden, I start seeing the toilet overflowing, and I was like, "Oh shit!" For real, oh shit. And that's when we figured it out.
Well, let's go back to your screw up for 2023.
Oh yeah.
That always has a name. The Great Salsa Incident.
Yeah, I didn't really learn my lesson either. Well, I kind of did. I just forgot. So
different mistake, same result.
There's a
There's something going on here.
There's a pattern here, yes, for sure. So the Great Salsa Incident. We were leaving Colorado Springs, and we were heading towards Steamboat Springs, actually. So we were going up through Denver, and we were going through the Eisenhower Tunnel on I-70, which is super cool and also really scary with an RV, but it was fun. It was a cool adventure.
Scary's a strong word.
So there is one gas station that is like the gas station right before you get to the Eisenhower Tunnel. So we stopped there to just kind of top off with diesel, make sure everything was good to go before we went through the tunnel. And I was actually really thankful for this. I went to go use the restroom while he was filling up with gas, and normally, there's a reason for this, but normally I will actually go to the truck stop restroom. Well, in this particular case, their restrooms were out of order. So they literally had no public restrooms whatsoever. So I was like, hey, babe, I'm going to need to use our restroom. Don't move the rig when you get done filling up because our stairs are going to be down. So I went in. I'm doing my thing. And all of a sudden I hear this beep, beep, beep. I was like, what is this? This sounds familiar. Like, what is that sound? Maybe it's the microwave that came open. Like, what is that? And then, a few minutes later it goes beep, beep, beep. And all of a sudden it clicked. The fridge was open. I forgot to lock the fridge. There's an actual, screw-on lock that goes on our fridge for travel day that keeps the fridge doors closed during travel day. And I forgot to put that on for some crazy reason. Like, it's there, it's provided for us, it's even on my checklist. So I have a checklist that I go through every single travel day. That's like my travel day checklist of did you do this? Did you do that? Did you check this? Did you check that? I just missed it entirely. I had all of the precautions to not miss it. And I missed it anyway. So we get to a point, he kind of pulls forward so that we're not blocking the diesel pump for anybody else. Nobody was really behind us, but just in case. And we went in and pulled out all the slides because we really couldn't get to the fridge without pulling out all the slides. So we pulled out all the slides, and we had filled up. So we are kind of snobs when it comes to our salsa. We really like a certain kind of salsa, and we can kind of only find it in the South and really can kind of only find it in Texas. So we had filled up and kind of stocked up on salsa before we left Texas, and Colorado was like our second or third stop. So we still had a ton of salsa. And we had room in the fridge, so we just kept it all in the fridge, which is totally fine. Until you forget to lock the fridge. And so thankfully we only lost one full jar and half of a second jar.
By half, it was one we had already opened and it's not like half.
Yeah. It was one we had already opened. It was halfway gone. We lost that one, but we lost also a full other one as well. And there was salsa and glass just everywhere on the back, over the back of the camper. So we cleaned it up as much as we possibly could, knowing that we didn't have a ton of time. We were on a time constraint. It was travel day, whatever. So we got it as clean as we could. Went on about our business. I did lock the fridge at that point. And then as soon as we got to our stop for the day, then we cleaned it up the rest of the way. But that was rough. Thankfully we didn't lose a ton of salsa, but man, lesson learned. Now I double and triple check that fridge lock is on there every travel day. And ever since then, every time we get in the car, we're about 10 minutes down the road and he's like, did you lock the fridge?
Hey, I can help. I'm helping. I'm just being a friendly reminder. Hey, did you lock the fridge?
Yeah, you did. So enough dogging on us. We need to talk about some successes here.
Okay.
We've done some good stuff, some smart stuff, maybe by accident, but we have done some smart stuff during our RV travels.
So I think the smartest thing we ever did was pulling over when we needed to.
What do you mean by that?
So we are driving from DFW to Lubbock. This is actually the same trip where the peanut incident...
It's the peanut incident episode. This was an eventful trip. Yes. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So we're driving down the road, and if you know anything about West Texas, it can get windy out there. So we're driving down.
Very windy.
It's getting so windy. It's actually causing a dust storm. We're having some visibility issues. We look at the weather 50 miles an hour. I'm like, yeah, I'm fighting that. Yeah, or not 50 miles an hour. It was 30, 20 or 30 miles an hour with 50 mile an hour gusts. And I'm like, yeah, I can feel that. I've been fighting that, and I can't hardly see that. I'm like, we need to pull over. My arms are getting tired just from fighting the wind. I want to take a break. So we pull over. I take a little nap. Wait till the storm dies down, and then we continue on our way. We get into town super, super late because of it, but we have a pretty uneventful drive the rest of the way. So then I do my research afterwards. So they recommend, or not recommend, they tell you that the tipping point, for fifth wheels at least, is a lot of times around 60 mile per hour gust. So, when you start getting close to 50, or close to 30 or 40 miles per hour sustained with those 50 and 60 mile per hour gusts, you are at that point where you can tip over. They actually say nowadays that, even 18-wheelers can tip over at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And recently, somebody said to us, they were like, really, honestly, 35 miles is enough depending on the situation. I'm like, yeah, I'm really glad we pulled over because it was like 30, 40 miles an hour with gust up to 50. I traveled earlier this year same trip for the where the tire blew out actually in 40-mile-an-hour gusts the day before. Or 40, it's just 35 miles an hour sustained. And so I kind of have like my cap is like round 30 miles per hour sustained is where, no, it's a no-go. I don't care what the predicted gusts are going to be because you just don't know, and it's really hard for them to predict what the actual number is. It's even really hard for them to report on what the actual number is. And so about 30 miles per hour is kind of my cutoff. We traveled in 32 miles an hour. It was fine. It wasn't horrible, but it's definitely kind of at that top end. But there weren't a lot of gusts. That was the nice thing. It was mostly sustained. And once we started heading west, it was only really when we were heading north. Once we started heading west, it wasn't so bad. It was bad because it was now a headwind, but at least it was not like pushing us off to the side. It was just lowering my gas mileage and making the truck have to work hard. So that wasn't a big deal. But that's all, and that's really informative, and that's really useful. I'm glad we pulled over. That was kind of just a luck of the draw. I was like, I'm just getting tired of fighting this wind. I want to pull over. When in reality, that could have been the scenario that could have toppled us over if we kept on going. So it's a really good success for us that we kind of like took the time to be like, you know what, this is not working for me right now. Let's take a break.
Well, the other thing too is it was good for us to go through that then because we took I-70 and I-80 this year through Utah and through Colorado, which are known for toppling over 18-wheelers with the gusting winds that go through the valleys from the mountaintops. So we knew that going in, and we were really, really vigilant to pay attention to the weather ahead of time to make sure that we like had alternate plans in case we got delayed and we had to offset a travel day. Because those roads are really, really scary when it comes to the gusts that could just like randomly hit you.
Right.
And we knew it going in because we'd gone through this experience. So yeah, like traveling during high winds, if high winds are predicted for travel day, first of all, you need to have multiple weather apps. You need to be looking at the weather through multiple sources leading up to and on travel day. And if high winds are predicted, like find another plan. Don't take the risk. It's really, really not worth it. And if you're already on the road and something happens, like pull off to the side. You're gonna survive if you pull off to the side, but if you just try to like quote unquote power through, that may not be the best plan.
That brings us to another success this year.
Mm-hmm.
That was last year. This year, we took our RV international.
We did. We went to Canada with our RV. We crossed the Canadian border with our RV and then we crossed back over. It was a success.
Be prepared. But also, they may only ask you 1 or 2 questions. You never know. Or they may ask you 20 questions. So just be prepared.
It was funny. So we did our research in advance, and they had, like, there's a lot of restrictions going into Canada, and there's a lot of restrictions coming back out of Canada. So you just need to be prepared. Go, like, look at their government, each government website on the border crossings, and that will help you prepare. But, like, right now, at least at the time of filming, Canada has restrictions, and the U.S. has restrictions on what produce you can bring across the border, as well as what meats you can bring across the border, and what, at least right now, what poultry byproducts you can bring across the border. So we had to kind of purge our entire pantry and kitchen of anything that, you know, could be prohibited. And then, of course, they have restrictions on, you know, other things that you can bring across the border as well. They're going to ask you about it. You are very likely to get searched if you're coming over with like an RV or a bigger vehicle just because of the shape and the size and everything else. So we were prepared for that. We'd built that into our travel plans if need be. And honestly, we had like the easiest experience at both borders both ways. It was kind of weird, but we're not complaining by any stretch of the imagination. When we went across the Canadian border, other than like, what are you coming here for? How long are you going to be here? Like, where are you headed? Like basic questions. They literally only asked us one other question, and it was easy to get through. No big deal. And then coming back across, everybody was like, oh no, it's going to be way worse coming back across. It was not. It was just as easy coming back across. They asked us what groceries we were bringing back across. And we told them everything that was in our fridge, which was not a ton at the time. And we had to get groceries coming in, and then we had to get groceries coming back out. And after that, they were like, all right, cool, you're good to go. That was it.
So, one of our followers on TikTok, Suko Biru, hoping I'm pronouncing
Scooby!
Scooby.
Scooby!
Okay.
Well, I know you. I know you, Scooby. You're good. This is the driver, Ryan. He like pops into the channel every now and then, but he doesn't know you like I know you. We know each other.
Scooby mentions an app called Weather the Trip. I've never used it. He says that it's really useful. He says that he or she says that I pronounced it appropriately.
Oh.
Sukobiro.
Oh. All right, you're gonna have to give me lessons.
So he says, for example, if you know you are going through Memphis in 3 hours, it shows you what the weather will be. Hey.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's a cool app. Recommend from one of our followers on TikTok.
I'm gonna have to download that and check it out.
Yeah,
because that'll be really great.
If we check it out, we like it, we might feature it here on an episode of the podcast coming up soon. But that actually leads us really well into our pick of the week. This is my opportunity to tell everybody I am building a database.
Oh yeah, this is a good yes. Tell them. It's really cool.
I am building a database of campground cell service, Wi-Fi, Starlink speeds, and Starlink obstructions.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the plan right now is to have about 100 campgrounds by the end of the year. We're not releasing anything. This is not going public this year. We are planning a tentative, possible beta for contributors only.
It's a maybe if and what kind of thing.
In 2024. So what I'm doing personally, I've got all the services. So I am testing AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, Starlink, and the campground Wi-Fi, getting their speeds and kind of averaging it out and giving the best, and then also giving a description of the obstruction areas of the campground on a rating system from 0 to 5. 0 being like there's literally nothing around. You could probably just set your Starlink on the ground and it'll work great. 5 being Starlink's not going to work. Pretty much any site from what we can tell. So the plan is to get some contributors to start helping me with this project. I don't have a plan yet on how that's going to look or how that's going to work, but what I wanted to put out today was a opportunity for some people to join in.
Yeah, here's the thing. It has a really good benefit for both use cases scenario. There's going to be a use case scenario where you're taking your RV out, you still got to stay connected due to whatever circumstances that you're in, but you really want to just get away and know that you have that peace of mind that if you need to hop onto the internet, you need to hop on your computer, you need to hop on a Zoom call or a Teams call or whatever, you can do it. There's also the circumstances where you're like, to hell with that, I don't want to be connected to anything while I go out, and knowing that you're going to go to a place where there's zero connectivity is also really helpful and also nice to just know, you know what? I'm kind of forced to disconnect. So that's kind of the goal here is we have been doing this for 2 years full-time. We've been doing it for a lot longer than that part-time. And what we found is for us, because we definitely really need solid internet almost everywhere we go, but when we actually do quote-unquote vacation and disconnect, we really don't want internet. And so we haven't found a place where they actually truly will tell us specifically what the download and upload speeds are. Because anytime somebody says, oh, my internet is really good, that's super relative to whatever their use case scenario is. And it may not be your use case scenario or our use case scenario. So being able to share the actual data points has been super helpful. So that's kind of what sparked the idea to come up with this database. So it's really just kind of a new thing for us, but we thought we would start to build it out. And if you're interested in the same kind of thing, we would love to just partner with you on it and kind of help contribute to it and see where it goes.
If you could email me, contributor@rvspeedtest.com.
There's a whole website? Wait a minute.
There's no website yet. There's no website.
It's just an email.
Just an email address.
Oh, okay, cool.
If you'll email contributor@rvspeedtest.com, give me what your current phone model is and what your current carrier is, and let me know if you're interested in being a contributor to help with the database. I'm going to work on some procedures over the next couple of months to see if we can make this semi-crowdsourced, but still very well controlled. So just as a foresight, there's going to be some restrictions on everything, on how we do everything for the time being, as we're building this database of internets up. The plan is to have a beta release for contributors only sometime in 2024. With contributions being added sometime before that. But this is just kind of an interest right now to see who might be interested in being a part of this. I will have more details in the coming months. But
the benefit of it is that eventually it's going to be just a source where you can go to, where you can search for your campground that you want to go to, and you can find out specifically what the data and internet connections are at that particular location. So you know whether or not T-Mobile is good. You know whether or not Starlink is going to work. You know if there's too many tree obstructions or things like that. You know if AT&T is going to work, or Verizon, or whatever the case may be. And you know to what degree that they're going to work based on the download and upload speeds of what was captured by the individuals who were there. So that's kind of the vision around it.
And last but not least, just a heads up. This is a pet project right now. I don't know where it's going, what's going to happen with it, or how it's going to develop. The idea is to have the database and at some point have it publicly available. Right now, like I said, I'm going to be working, my first project's going to be working on a way to allow beta testers access to it, as well as a way for them to contribute data to it. Once that is all said and done, the rest of the roadmap we'll figure out at that point. And so as a forewarning to everybody, it may start out free. It may not start out free. I have no clue what this project's going to look like long term. But there is always a chance that I may need to monetize this to maintain the database. So this is just a heads up that even if you get on board right now as a contributor and you get access to it for free, or you get access to it for free next year at some point, it may not stay free. I don't know. I cannot predict where this project is going. This is a pet project. I'm starting off and just seeing where it goes and how it leads. And for right now, my primary job is to collect the data and see how I can allow other people to contribute data, to be a part of it. I know there's other apps out there. I know there's other resources out there, but none of them have had the detail that I'm wanting to have in all of this. So please, please, please email contributor@rvspeedtest.com. That the plan is to just get a list of people who are interested in contributing, so I know how much interest there is. Because if there's not a lot of interest in contributing, then my focus is going to be on building up the database. But if there's a lot of interest in contributors, then I want to work on that side of it first, so that way we can get more people contributing data, because that's going to build the database faster than me trying to do it by myself. So, just an FYI.
Awesome. I love it. I think it's a great idea. It's something that nobody's doing right now, and it's definitely something that we have needed in the past. And so I think this would be a really great opportunity. But now it's time for our fan question of the week. This actually came in right before we started filming today, and so I thought this was kind of a cool fan question, and seems like kind of an innocuous fan question, a pretty simple one to answer, but there's some implications there. So, you ready for it?
Yeah.
How big is your camper?
Well, if we're talking about length, it's 41 feet and some change.
Yeah.
Or if we're talking about width, it's 8 feet wide when the sides are pulled in.
So it legally fits down a road.
It's about just shy of 11 feet when the sides are fully out. Square footage wise, so if you take 8 feet by 40 feet, that comes out to...
You're such an engineer.
8 times 40, so it's 320 square feet when the slides are in, and each of these slides is 3 feet by 6 feet.
Yo, this is what I have to deal with.
18 square feet, so 18. So that's 350 square feet, and then another couple of square feet from the bedroom side out. So I would say about 355 to 360 square feet.
So it's a fifth wheel. It's about 40 feet long. It's about 13 and a half feet tall.
I already said that.
That is the Reader's Digest version of the answer to that question.
I gave a very The question was, how big is your camper? I answered that question to the best of my ability.
There are some implications with the size of our camper. So one of the implications with it is because it is so long, we can't really fit into a lot of Army Corps of Engineers sites. We can't fit into a lot of state parks or national parks. So we do have to, we tend to go to the private campgrounds because that's where there's big rig places to fit.
Yeah.
The other thing that we have to kind of keep in mind, which is why we really, really love our Garmin RV GPS, is we have to be aware of bridge heights. There are some bridges on some roads that are shorter than our RV, meaning we cannot take those roads, otherwise we're going to take off the top of our RV or take off an AC unit or something like that. The other thing that we have to keep in mind is how much our RV weighs, because there are some roads that cannot handle more than a certain tonnage of weight on
Oh yeah, I
that
forgot to
particular
mention
RV.
weight. We're about, with the truck,
With the truck, yeah.
we're about 12 tons or 24,000 pounds or whatever that comes out to in those European units. those metric things.
Yeah, so 24,000 pounds?
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, thereabouts. So, yeah, so if there's a road that says no more than 10 tons, well, we're too big for that. We can't go on that road. The nice thing about the Garmin RV GPS is we can put in all of our dimensions, including our weight, and it will for sure take us on roads that it knows for sure we can actually go on, that we can fit on, and we're not going to damage our RV or damage the road or anything like that, which is really nice.
Oh, that's the other one I forgot, is the length when we're hitched up. It was either 54 or 56 feet. I forget. I need to do that.
I think it's I think it's closer to 56.
I think it was 56 feet is our total length from back to from the back of the RV to the front of the truck when we are fully hitched up.
Yeah. So I say all of that to say this. If you are thinking about getting an RV to go camping, you need to also think about what kind of camping you want to do. Because if you want to go hit a bunch of state parks and national parks and Army Corps of Engineers and boondocking places and things like that, the smaller RV you have, the more maneuverable it's going to be and the more likely you are to fit into some of those places. The bigger RV you have, the more spacious it's going to be, the more you're going to be able to carry all of your stuff with you, especially if you're full-timing. It's kind of nice to have a bigger RV, but you may not be able to fit everywhere, so you just have to keep that in mind.
So, Suko brings up, this is a good point. There are some states that have some laws regarding kingpin to axle length.
Oh, yeah.
I believe California is one of them, and there might be others. I don't know. He asked if the Garmin allows for that. I don't know if that was programmable in the Garmin. If it was, I didn't do it because I didn't know the length at the time, and I actually still kind of don't know the length. So I need to measure that at some point before we truly get out into one of those states. But yes, there are states that actually have a length requirement from where the kingpin sits, i.e. your rear axle of your truck, to the front axle or the rear axle of the trailer. I don't remember what it was. It's something having to do with that length from there to the axle of the trailer. So that is also another law that you have to keep in mind. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the rules are. I don't even know what the length is for ours.
Yeah. I do know, like, the RV Garmin, though, has never steered us wrong. Sometimes it's taken us, if we know the area, sometimes it's taken us on a longer route than we needed to go just because it didn't know for sure if all of the back roads could accommodate us, which is fine.
I'd rather be safe than sorry.
I'd rather be safe than sorry. It has never steered us wrong, and the nice thing about the Garmin GPS, the Garmin RV specifically, that is different than like a trucker GPS, because we used that beforehand, is the trucker GPSs are geared towards commercial vehicles. There are certain roads that prohibit commercial vehicles. A lot of those roads are the roads that lead to your actual campground.
Right.
And so the Garmin RV accounts for all of that, and it will still ensure that you get to your final destination. Haha, that came up twice this episode. But it'll ensure that you get to the campground that you need to go to on the roads that are appropriate for your vehicle and for your camper, and doesn't like steer you in a wrong direction because it's trying to avoid any roads that a commercial vehicle can't go on. So that's a call out to the Garmin RV. But yeah, we have a 40-foot fifth wheel. That's the answer to that question. Hey friends, thanks for listening today. Thanks for watching today. We really appreciate it. You should definitely connect with us. We definitely want to talk to you. Follow us on any of our social media platforms. We are literally on all of them. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're even on Snapchat and Threads now. We have like 4,000 followers on Snapchat. I'm not really sure how that happened because I don't really know how to use Snapchat, but somehow we have a lot of followers on Snapchat. So follow us on any one of those. We are also live most Thursday evenings on TikTok, so come and hang out with us when we're live. And then we also have a website where we talk about all of the products that we really love and we use in our RV. We will link them in affiliate links in our website, which is beacons.ai/wanderingRVbabe. It's beacons.ai/wanderingRVbabe. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. All right, what's Sean's question?
Do you guys eat out often or cook in the RV?
Oh, we cook all the time in the RV.
Yeah.
All the time. We actually got our RV specifically because of the kitchen. So we love to cook. We've loved to cook since before we started full-timing. And so that was actually really important for us when we were looking at RVs and we were looking at the different floor plans. So our RV, the model number of our RV is the 39 Bark. It's a Sandpiper 39 Bark. It's a Forest River brand. The Bark stands for Big Ass Rear Kitchen. No joke. It's kind of a joke.